You know what? We're in the Premier League now. We've got to start doing things properly. Hello and welcome to Season 9, Episode 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we have our first Premier League games. Who have we got? We're away to Everton on the first game of the season, and then we're following that up with a home game against Sheffield United. Before we get into that, though, let's have a little rundown of what's been going on over the summer. It's not been the best summer we possibly could have hoped for at the club. Money is the problem. Money is always the problem. That's not true. Money has been the problem for the last 18 months of this save, and I don't know why it's suddenly becoming an issue now. As you can see, despite loads of season ticket sales and Premier League money coming in, we're still overdrawn. We're £3 million in the red. The projections are looking good, so if we can survive in the Premier League this season, then hopefully things will be all right next year. I don't know, maybe they'll give us some money to spend in January, but pretty much we've had no money to spend in this transfer window. I'm over my wage budget. I know I said in the last episode the wage budget looked good. Yeah, I'm over it already. We have signed a few players. If we have a quick look through who we have brought in and who we've let go. Firstly, on the letting go front, the big news is we've managed to keep hold of everybody. There have been a couple of massive bids come in for Thierry Ambrose from Swansea. They're sort of a mid-table Premier League side, so that encourages me that he might actually end up being a decent Premier League player. They've been offering 15-16 million pounds. It's a little bit worrying because he has a 16 million pound release clause on his contract, but luckily it's been sort of 12 million pounds plus add-ons so far, and since I rejected the third offer, which was like 17 million pounds in total, they've not been back. So hopefully they're staying well away, although part of me thinks he really doesn't like a big game. Could we sell him and invest the money back in the first team? Because as you can see from the players we've brought in, we still don't have a right back. James Tavernier is the only right back at the club. He's 31 years old and he wasn't our first choice for the last 2 years. So that's a bit of a worry. Another worry is we're only allowed 2 domestic loan players in the Premier League. Now, as you'll remember from last season, we had 4. We had Zaman and Dane as our centre-backs, who've been our centre-back partnership for 2 years now. We had Rune Rowe in midfield, and then Johnny Vaughan just behind the front 2. They were all key players for us. Good news is we've got Dane and we've got Vaughan back on loan for another season. It's the 3rd season in a row Dane has been on loan at the club. Johnny Vaughan back for, well, he's been with us for 18 months now as well, so they're both well established in the team. Very happy to have them back. And we've also got Jan Zaman back at the club, but not on loan. We've actually basically blown our transfer budget on him, and I'm happy to do that. He's 22 years old. He's got a fantastic future ahead of him. He has been immense for us over the last 2 years, particularly last season. Real standout player, only 22. He's going to be, if not already, he is a very good Premier League player. We've spent a lot of money on him, £13 million in total. It's spread out over the next 4 years. I think we paid something like £3-4 million up front. The rest is spread out over the next 4 years, which it's a bit of a gamble. If we go down, we're going to be screwed because we're not going to be able to afford to pay for him. But we've got him tied down to a 5-year contract, and I'm really excited to have a player like that at the club. So very happy to have Zaman in, and it means we can keep the Zaman and Dane central defensive partnership running for another season, which has served us so well for the last 2 years. We've also signed Jack Wilshere to replace Rune Rowe in central midfield. A bit of a gamble on this one. He's in on a lot of money, and we've got him for 2 years. If we look at how many games he's played in the life of this save, so since, we're going back 8 seasons now, so what's that, 19, 22. He's played 24 games in 8 years. His injuries are ridiculous. Look at that, you have to scroll, and this is for a player who's not playing football. He hasn't, in the last 5 years, he's played 2 games for Arsenal, and they were both substitute appearances. So he's not been playing football at all. He's only played 137 games in his career, and 38 games for England. So, a third of his career has been spent playing for England. But he's still playing for England. Oh, no, that was back then. He's not playing for England anymore, obviously, because he doesn't play for Arsenal, or hasn't been playing for Arsenal. Yeah, it's a massive risk, but he's a free transfer. He is absolute superb Premier League quality. If we can keep him fit for even a part of the season, I couldn't find a better option to come in and replace Rune Rowe. I tried to buy him. Southampton wanted £25 million, which is ridiculous. Yes, Wilshire's a risk. Yes, he's 31, but there's always the off chance that he's not played a lot of football for the last 8 years. If we can get him fit, which is a big if, he could play on for 2, 3, 4 years, surely. Maybe. I don't know if my logic's flawed there, but he was our only option. We had no money. He was available for a free. I got a bit starstruck by the fact we've signed a proper Premier League player and some much needed experience to bring into the side as well. And our only other player that we brought in is another centre-back. I don't want Dominic Ball to be my first reserve centre-back in the Premier League, especially because when we play Chelsea, we're not going to be able to play Dane. If either Dane or Zaman get injured, we are absolutely ruined. So we brought in Jordi Amat from, I think was it Aston Villa? So real life, he's at Swansea. You've probably heard of him. Proper Premier League player again. He spent the last 10 years playing in the Premier League. The last 5 years as a Villa reserve, so that doesn't necessarily bode well. But we've picked him up for £600,000. Yes, he's a bit old, not really our profile of player, but as a third option as a centre-back, meaning we don't hopefully have to rely on Ball and Maloney too often, it just seemed like good business. Like I say, the big problem is the fact that we've not been able to bring in a right-back. I did throw a little hissy fit. I identified a right-back I wanted to bring in. He was only £2 million, but it was after we'd bought Zaman. I threatened the board, said, if you don't let me sign him, I don't think I'm going to be able to continue at the club. And they said, do you want to resign then? So I'm a chicken. And going back to real life rules, I mean, look, I've signed a 3-year contract over the summer. I'm on £22,000 a week now. That's over £1 million a year for 3 years. I don't care how the club are treating me. In real life, I'm not resigning. So real life rules, let them sack me. I'm on a free. If they sack me at Christmas because we don't have a right back, they're going to give me a couple of £1 million and I can go travel around the world and manage whoever I like. So I'm kind of on a no-lose situation with Ipswich. I don't think our squad is going to be good enough to stay up. The team we're playing today is pretty much last season's team. Dane is injured, so Amat's going to come in and make his debut alongside Zaman. Haidara is injured as well, so Nudson's going to be playing. So we've got Nudson and Tavernier as the fullbacks. Midfield, Jack Wilshere does come in, playing his first Premier League game for ages, with Zibeldia and Christensen either side of him. And then this front three is going to be crucial. How do they adapt to the Premier League? If they can be half as good in the Premier League as they were last season for us in the Championship, we should be okay. They scored, how many goals between them did they get last year? So 12 from Vaughan, and Ambrose got us 19. That's not strictly true though, because he scored 24. So what, with 36, and Sterling scored as many of that for himself. So 70 goals between the front three last season. If they can get half of that, 35 goals from those guys, I think we might stay up if they can do it. But it's whether or not they can do it. I'm encouraged by the fact Swansea want Thierry Ambrose. That suggests he's a Premier League player. Less encouraged by the fact no one wants Keziah Sterling, despite him being top scorer in the Championship last season. There's been not a sniff of interest for him. So who knows? And our bench is terrifying for the Premier League. I mean, look at it. James Maloney is on our bench. We all remember James Maloney, the goal of game right back. Gomez, Maraglia, these are players who I've never really wanted to rely on in the Championship. Emir Hughes has come back from nowhere. He's barely played for us for a year. He's back because we haven't got anyone else. Henry Lansbury, his legs have gone. I think he's 32 years old now. You can see he's massively in decline. I'm not sure how much game time we're going to get out of him this season, despite him being quite an important player last year. And Sebastian Kirk had his good half season for us, and it hasn't really done anything since Johnny Vaughan has been at the club. So it's going to be a painful season, I think. We're playing Everton today. Let's get into the game and just hopefully not get hammered. That's all I'm really looking for out of this game. Got to give a squad number to Maloney because I took his number 4 off him because Amat's got it. Nudson is fantastic. Yes, we miss. Nudson's fantastic. Yeah, but what about your first choice left back? We are going to miss Haidara. I only signed him as a reserve on a free transfer from Wolves, and he's been brilliant for 2 years. Gomez is left out because he ain't any good yet. Philosophy, etc. The other thing we've got going in our favour, which I don't know, who knows how this is going to turn out. I have signed a lot of young, talented players over the last 3 years at Ipswich. Players like Maraglia, Gomez, even the likes of Zaman. They're probably Mika, the backup goalkeeper. If just a couple of them start to fulfil some of their potential this season, that will be as good as bringing in £5, £6, £7, £8 million player. So fingers crossed we can get some of them come good, maybe. As it is, we're very much relying on last season's team, and it's probably a weakened version of last season's team because we've got Tavernier in instead of Emmanuel, Amat's in instead of Dane, and Jack Wilshere's in instead of Rune Rose. So to me, that's weaker than what our first choice team was this time last year. But time will tell if it's good enough for the Premier League, I guess. Encouragingly, we're not losing it. I don't think we need latest scores on at the moment. We don't really care what's going on. I'll leave the league table on for now. But again, I'm not going to get too downhearted about the league table. We're going to concede here, aren't we? I'm messing around with how this works. I'm going to stick that up there for this season. Stick that down there. We're going to make it to half-time 0-0 here. This is encouraging stuff. Yeah, we've had 36% possession and we've had 2 shots. So, welcome to the Premier League, Ipswich Town. But, you know, we're not losing yet. So, that is massive as far as I'm concerned. I'd love to get some of the ball, though. Tavernier is on a yellow card and is just not at the races at all. We desperately need a right back, but we've got no money to bring one in on as a permanent transfer. We can't bring in any more domestic loans. I've tried to bring in a loan from abroad, but the board blocked it. Well, they didn't block it. They wouldn't let me offer the wage contribution that was needed because we're 25 grand over our wage budget. I have begged and pleaded with the board to give me more money of any kind, but because they didn't do it, we're 1-0 down. There you go, board. You screwed me over with Emmanuel. You've screwed me over again this summer. We're going to get relegated and it's your fault. Give me £5 million. We can stay up. I just need a right back. And a few more players as well, to be fair. But I really want a right back. Right, the front three who I pinned so many hopes on have done nothing. So let's take 2 of them off. We'll give Gomez and Maraglia a go. Like I say, one of them could become a hero. And we might unearth a Premier League player here. Ambrose is offside. We were almost attacking there. That was getting exciting. Right, Tavernier with the throw. Maraglia now almost finds Zubeldia. Knudsen back to Zubeldia, out to Tavernier. We need to get across him, but we've got no one in the box. Christensen finds Wilshere. Oh, Jack Wilshere's playing. Brilliant. We're going to concede again here. Sotres does really well actually there. Everton have had 3 clear-cut chances. They have absolutely battered us. Everton are a good side, and we're away from home. Even the media said this is a baptism of fire getting us into the Premier League. If we can come away just losing 1-0, I'm actually a little bit encouraged by that because we're playing Sheffield United next, who are no Everton, and we're playing them at home. There's a chance we could get something out of that game, and it won't be a disastrous episode. We shouldn't be conceding from corners, though. We're supposed to be the rubbish team who just rely on set pieces. Not that we're set up that way at all. But, right, let's just not concede enough. We've had 1 shot on target, 39% possession. This is going to be a long season, is it? Do you really want 2 live comms an episode for this? Let me know in the comments, what month am I going to get sacked? Will they sack me? It's their fault. They've not invested in me. If we get sacked, bearing in mind last season we were only supposed to be a mid-table team and we got promoted, will they sack me? Who knows? Right, that... I don't want to call it a disaster, but it wasn't good, was it? Let's race forward to the Sheffield United game. We've got a problem. Pretty much it's all over already. Danny Sotres, superstar, key man from last season, has torn his knee ligaments. He's out for 2 months. It's all going to be on Jaroslav Mika. Now, the only thing we've got going in our favour is, look, Mika's caught up with Sotres on the old current ability over the last year and a half that they've both been at the club together. Sotres has been tutoring Mika as well. Mika came in to be the man, and it's never really happened for him in, 2.5 years at the club now. He played a lot of games this season where we were a mid-table bunch of flops. Didn't really feature last season. I said someone's got to make themselves a star. It's going to have to be Jaroslav Mika, or else we are in serious problems. This is the team that we're playing at Sheffield United today. Dane is sort of fit again, but he's not properly fit, so he can sit on the bench. And other than Mika coming in, we're unchanged. We don't really have much in the way of other options. We have a paper-thin squad. We've now lost our goalkeeper. Lewis Norris was about to go on loan to Wimbledon for the season, Our youth team goalkeeper who came through a few years ago, I've had to cancel that. He's hanging around until Christmas at least. Perhaps he'll make himself a star. Let's throw the 18-year-old whose only previous experience was in the conference. Let's throw him into the Premier League because Mick is bound to get injured in the first few minutes of this game. And even if he does get injured, we cannot bring in another goalkeeper. We have no money to spend. It is a ridiculous situation we've got ourselves in. Perhaps I shouldn't have spent £13 million on Jan Zaman. But then, if I didn't, Maloney would be playing centre-back for us today. We weren't good enough to get promoted. Why didn't I think this through? I should have left a year ago. I should have left Ipswich the moment they sold Emmanuel out from under me, because the board have been nothing but a pain in my backside since that moment onwards. I'm actively looking for jobs, but worryingly, I've still never been offered a job since I've been at Ipswich. I was offered loads of jobs when I was at Exeter, constantly turning jobs down or going along to interviews and not getting the jobs. Not even been linked with anything in 3 years at Ipswich. So best case scenario we're going for now is that October, November time, a mid-table Premier League manager gets sacked. We're hovering just outside the relegation zone and seen as performing miracles, and I can jump ship to whoever they are and then sign Ambrose in January and save Ipswich that way by sticking £15 million into the bank. Say, yep, thank you very much. Enjoy just romping all over the Championship next season if you can keep hold of Sterling. Of course, there's the option that I stick it out, take the relegation on the chin, and use the big pile of cash that this season's going to get us to reassemble the side for next season and build a proper squad this time, not 7 players glued together with loanees and a few youngsters who hopefully won't have to play, which is what we did last year and got away with it. Oh, I'm an awful manager. How have I made it into the Premier League? Right. Oh, we had a corner. You know what? We're not having a disastrous match. Zabelji's done really well there. Finds Christensen. Sterling is through, and Keziah Sterling has just got me my first goal in the Premier League. We're 1-0 up in the Premier League. We're up to 12th. Stop the season now. Oh, it's all too much for me. It's a fairly even game. Half an hour in, yeah, we've not had as much possession as Sheffield United have, but we've had more shots. We've had the same number of clear-cut chances. Perhaps... Oh, no, don't say it. Right, Christensen wins the ball back in midfield, finds Ambrose. He gets it out to Tavernier. Can Tavernier beat his man in getting across? Of course he can't, but he finds Jack Wilshere, who eventually finds Knudsen to Zabeldia. Christensen, it's now up wide to Tavernier. Cross comes in this time to Ambrose. It's off the crossbar. We could have been 2-0 up in the Premier League. It's all coming together. I never doubted it for a second. Right, Sterling is through again, but he's offside. His pace is going to scare teams even at this level. We've had 8 shots. This is odd. I'm not prepared for this outcome. Right, we just need to hold on now. Right, Vaughan doesn't find Tavernier at all. Right. See, the other thing about being in the Premier League is we probably need a counter-attacking or defensive version of the tactic for situations like the one we could find ourselves in 10-15 minutes time, where we're in the last 15 minutes of the game, we're 1-0 up and we are just still throwing players forward. I mean, this system doesn't really lend itself to being counter-attacking. We need a whole new way of lining up, and unfortunately I've built the entire squad, and I use the term squad really loosely because it's basically a team with a few substitutes, but I've built that team and a few substitutes around playing the 4-3-1-2. We've got rid of our wingers. Tommy Orr's gone out on loan to some team I've never heard of. It's not an issue anymore because we've conceded a goal, so we still need to attack. This is where Sheffield United come back into the game and beat us, and then I do realise it's all over, because if we can't beat this team in this game, in these circumstances, we don't stand a chance. They're one of the weaker teams in the Premier League. Thierry Ambrose hasn't turned up today. It's because it's on the telly. Jack Wilshere. Where's Henry Lansbury? Why isn't he on the bench? What have I done there? Emir Hughes is going to play a game for us in the Premier League, despite barely touching the ball in the Championship last season. This is what's happening now. The injuries are setting in already. Only a game into the season. Right, come on, lads. It would be... I mean, we wouldn't deserve it, but it would be extraordinary to pick up a winner now. Right, Vaughan is going to come off for Maraglia. I'm going to swap Maraglia and Gomez over like that. And fingers crossed. I feel like I cross my fingers to camera too much. I might I need to do something about that. It's like 5 times now. I've only been using the camera for a season. Zubeldia, we are 2-1 up. This is where we need that other tactic, though, because I have no idea what to do now. What am I supposed to do? Tell you what I am supposed to do. Turn the 3D highlights back on. Why haven't I done that at any point in this episode? I'll tell you what. No, we're not going to do it now because we don't want the 3D highlight of that one. Oh, 90th minute. Are we going to score again? Go on. Let's score again. I mean, there's no time. 2-2. It's not a disaster, but twice we looked like we could have won that game. That might prove costly come the end of the season. So, 2 games in, we're mid-table. We've got a point. We should have done better against Sheffield United. It's not a disaster, though. Yeah, will do. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you pop a like on there for me. I would like to get a whole load of likes on this first episode of the new season. Quite apart from anything else, it's the first time I've tried to ramp up the production quality a little bit. Let me know in the comments what you think of the whole changes with the camera and all that stuff, assuming they worked. If my face isn't on the screen at all, it means that stuff didn't work and I've forgotten to edit this bit out, but hopefully it worked. Let me know what you think of it. There are other improvements in the plan as well, but baby steps and all that. I'm figuring all this out as I go along. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on one of the most toothless relegation battles you've ever seen in Football Manager. And thank you very much for watching.